We got it. We did it, Lubie. We came through.
We did. Thank goodness.
Wow. I mean, that could not have been more exciting on Friday night. That was the
like
Panthers victory. You know what it reminded me of? It really did. It reminded me of that whole Nick Wallenda thing when he was going over the Grand Canyon there in the tightrope and they misgauged the wind. And all of a sudden you get like the Santa Ana winds are kicking up and they've made their way over to Las Vegas. And this guy's trying to balance himself. Now, he was sort of attached to the thing. So it wasn't like he was going to go into the bottom of the abyss there and fall like 1,500 feet. It was kind of treacherous to watch as he was praying to God. And as we've often referenced, probably the most unusual aspect of that whole telecast was that Joel Osteen was assisting from a mental standpoint, supposedly Nick Wallenda, as he went out there and he was giving him confidence. And there were many God references like, oh, God. And he's in the middle of the Grand Canyon there, not looking too sure of himself, wearing a pair of like ballet slippers and holding a rod. But I think Joel Osteen was having his rod held by Wallenda's wife.
Oh, yeah, you're fine. You're fine.
Keep going, Nick. Keep going. See, Joel Osteen, I mean, yeah, he's very good at what he does. I have to say, he's very good at what he does. True. When you watch those lectures, you start to believe that, you know what, maybe Jesus can come and save me. But I don't think so.
I don't know. That's a long shot.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
I mean, I guess it's the Defo Show. Hi, it's Lubie. Defo is not going to be here. What's interesting is if you do listen or follow the show, I guess watch the show now, you know that he's not here. We've talked about this trip for months now because Defo is turning 71 and has yet to go to Europe. Now, he has left American soil. I presume he's been to Canada. I mean, he grew up in New York. He's been to the islands a lot. And he has been to Colombia to call a fight that he talked about a million times. If you've listened to our show, watched our show, or listened to Defo over the years. But he's never been to Europe. So this is a big deal. He should be there soon. Because they're ahead 6 hours and he was getting there around 11. So he should by now be there. What's cool about these days is you don't have to pay extra or set anything up ahead of time. Most phone companies at least work there. Now, if you want to have really good service, phone and internet without Wi-Fi overseas, you can pay usually like $5 a day or something. Sure, my wife always says that. I don't really do that because I don't want my phone working. I want to be able to use my phone at night, Wi-Fi, to make sure things are going with what we do and just in life, keep tabs in life. And text, usually for my phone, I have T-Mobile, works wherever I go. But phone, I don't want to talk to people. That's one thing, like the term unplugged. No one does that. I do that. Like when we go on a trip, I don't want, and I love all of you, and I love my family, and I love my friends. When I go away, I want to go away. When we're here, especially, it's actually not what everyone does nowadays with social media and emails. Oh, good. I love it. My sister. With what we all do these days, most jobs, even when you clock out, you're still on the job, right? Like they can reach you. Now overseas, they're fucking crazy about it. Like overseas, like my wife's cousin lives in France. So when we were in Paris, we went out with her and she was talking and like they're crazy about like work, not the other way. And you in America, we hear how others think and feel. No, like they have rules. Like they work. She's not allowed to work more than 32 hours a week. Not allowed. If she works more than 32 hours, then the next week they will make her take time off. They have to take a certain time off. Look, all these people in America, you'll get a month off a year, right? You work at a job for 10 years. You finally get up to a month off. But when can you really take a month off? Not at once. I mean, you take a week here, you take a week here. No, it gets to August. You've taken 2 weeks off. You still have to take 2 more weeks off, but with the holidays, you get days off, so you don't really have room to take them off. And how your job works, most places, if you take off, there's not like a backup. So your work sits there. When you get back, it's now. So the trip is actually stressful because while you're gone, you're thinking about the shit you have to do when you get back. And then when you get back, you have double or triple the amount of work. So you don't really get off. No, over there or get to take off. Over there, no, you need to take off. And they're crazy about it. And literally during the work week, if you work too much, they make you take off. So over there, it's different. Over here, when are you off? I literally am working all day long, not because my job is amazing. I love what we do, but it's just that's a part of it. Setting up interviews, responding to emails, being on social media, which is fun for most people. For me, I've never understood social media. I don't really give a crap about social media, but it's a part of what we do, being out there, seeing also constantly the news cycle, the sports cycle is 24 hours a day. So you have to keep an idea. So when I go, I go. So I told Defo's like, I'll be in touch. I'm like, no, don't be in touch. Go. Because the dude is 70 and he said it yesterday. And it's true. Like he takes these weekend trips and he's gone away for 4 days, but he hasn't taken a week off since I've known him. Since we've been doing shows, Jeff Deforrest has not taken a week off. I had multiple honeymoons. And every time Shirley and I go on a trip, it's a honeymoon. So that's automatically 10 days. Like we don't do it all the time because she works like a freaking beast. She works 16-hour days. But when we go, we go. So I know his phone will work and I'll know he's alive because I'll get the Lubie text or he'll find some gambling entity, which I've been all over Asia and Europe the last few years. I did not hear like it's so funny because they like sports and they have their sports, but it's not like this. Like that's like my wife would love to move over there, and with what's going on in our country, I'd love to move over there, which I never thought I'd say because I want to be in America all my days. But America, a certain faction, it's not actually America. America mostly thinks the same. There's a certain faction who's very loud and weirdly powerful that thinks differently. And it's really trying hard to get most people to leave for some reason, which I don't understand that. But like, I couldn't do this over there. Like, they don't do sports talk. They love their soccer, and wherever you go, you'll see them watching soccer, cricket, sometimes basketball, and they'll occasionally talk about it. But it doesn't take over their lives. Like I didn't hear any sports talk. You don't see like ESPN. Like even if you go into a sports bar, there will be a game on. There will be the halftime of the game where they're talking about it, or the pregame. They don't have entire channels that spend 10 hours producing live content of people bitching or discuss. Like that doesn't happen over there. So like I'd be out of a gig, and I like what I do. And I love that you guys have followed us here, and will hopefully continue to follow us. And even though Defo's not here, watch me and listen to me. So I couldn't really go there, but I'd like to because it's just a freaking different mentality. And Defo's there now. So you're not getting Defo. That's a long way of saying it's the Defo show-ish. The Defo show with Lubie. Really, Lubie without Defo. Not the Lubie show. Not the Lubie show. Lubie without Defo. Defo will be back in a week or so. So you have to put up with me for a little bit. I appreciate you all joining me this morning, and we'll be on till 9 o'clock live. And of course, everything we do, you can check it out. Just Google the Defo show to get our whole roster of stuff we've done. We've been doing this since late October, and really enjoying it. And I appreciate, Ion for getting us started here and sticking with us this time. And Believe, we're doing a lot of fun stuff with Believe. Tim Brewster, our conversation yesterday. And it's funny, in sports in America, because that's over there, there's soccer year round. So the one thing they will talk about year round is soccer. We don't do anything. The NFL is the only thing that's become year round. NBA for like a month into free agency, and then you forget about the NBA. Baseball, no one gives a crap about baseball anymore, it's so mind boggling to me how little I care about baseball. Like, it's funny. A lot of my friends who know me now were like, oh, you never cared. And they're big baseball heads. They're like, oh, you never liked baseball. And I laugh. I'm like, baseball is my first sport. Like I was playing catch with my dad at like 1. Like I was hitting off a tee at 1. I was in t-ball, even though it was like half a foot at 3. Like baseball was my first love as a sport. I into college was at FSU, and my buddies would mock me because not only I would watch regular season baseball, I'd watch the Marlins. Like no one watches the Marlins here. I'd be in Tallahassee in college, and I lived the college life. My wife is amazed at some of the things I did in college. I embraced college. Believe me, I embraced it. And I still, like on a Wednesday, would watch a Marlins Tigers game or a Marlins Mets game. Like I loved baseball that much. And when they would call it boring, I thought that was the dumbest thing. I'm like, what do you mean? It's not boring. It's slow-ish, but it's not boring. Well, it took 10 years later, or now 15 years, or whatever the hell. I don't even like to think about that. I can't watch. I don't even, not only I don't watch it, like there's sports I don't watch, but I know, like NHL, I for years didn't watch when I was growing up, but I knew who were the players. I knew what was going on. NASCAR, even before my former life. You knew who Jeff Gordon was. You knew who the big name, Bobby Labonte, Terry Labonte. You knew who the people were, even though you didn't watch it. Baseball, not only I don't watch it anymore, I don't even know. I know the Marlins had a nice stretch and now have sucked. The Yankees came out strong. The Blue Jays have not been what everyone thought they would be. I can get with because my barber's a big baseball guy, so I can bullshit with my barber for 40 minutes about baseball, but I don't know anything else. I don't know the common stuff. I couldn't name you any of the managers like that. I don't even, and I used to be able to name you every manager. And I thought maybe it's just because of me. And then I was talking to the professor who you'll see, hopefully he'll join us in about half an hour or so. And he said it because Defo and I have talked about this the last 2-3 years where baseball's become slow. And I was like, well, am I just building a straw man? Am I just saying that because that's what I've heard? And the few moments I've watched, 'cause I've gone to games because, we had our connection with the Marlins and we were really close with the Marlins. So I'd go to games here and there. And my wife loves going to games, my parents, her parents. So we'd go to games and I'd be okay at the game. But even then, like by the 6th inning, and it would be a close game. It's like, all right, let's go. I couldn't finish a game, but at home, I wouldn't even put it on. And I'm like, okay, am I just making that up? No, the game was already slowish, but you could get into it. Now there's literally nothing. So I don't really care about baseball. But over there, like year round, they have soccer. We will talk about the NFL year round because ESPN forces it in, but I don't care about football right now. Like I don't. I'll I might talk a little bit about Tua because Tyreek Hill has become the biggest cheerleader for Tua. And I think it's the most funny thing where you had an organization that literally spit in the guy's face for 2 years. Now you have superstars that, yes, it behooves Tyreek Hill to have Tua play better. That's true. But he didn't have to come. He had the guy who is the best quarterback in the league. So he, before and now, saw something in Tua that he wants to make sure everyone knows. So I think that's freaking cool. So I might talk about that. But like, we don't really talk about anything year round. Like we talk about our sports in pockets. So it's interesting. And I started this from our conversation yesterday on our Believe podcast that we do every day, or almost every day. Believe, BLEAV.com, and search After Hours. Talking Tim Brewster. He was a coach with FSU for a long time. He followed Jimbo to A&M. He was at North Carolina. He was at Florida with Dan Mullen. I didn't even realize that he was at Texas all those years with Mac Brown. And in between there, or before then, he was with the Chargers, and he's the guy that found and then coached Antonio Gates, to the point where Antonio Gates has credited him and told him that when he goes into the Hall of Fame, which he will, he's a top, 5 tight end. When he goes into the Hall of Fame, he will make sure Tim Brewster is the first coach. So we had that yesterday on our Believe podcast, and we talked NIL, we talked transfers. He embraces it as a guy who's been an assistant coach for a long time, was a head coach at Minnesota, that like he embraces the new stuff because if you don't, like Lane Kiffin said, if you're not going to embrace it, then get out because it's changing. It's a locomotive. So it's nonstop. But it's just funny to me because like in the middle of college football season, NIL's everything. When Saban and Fisher fight, it's everything. But then like today, I feel really weird talking about it because the Western Conference Finals ended last night. Steph Curry's the first Western Conference Finals MVP. The Warriors, you want to talk about a freight train, are going forward. So like we literally talk about sports in pockets, which is interesting. I just, it just hit me and I sort of find it funny. This is the Defo show. I am Lubie. Defo should be not only touched down, he should be in, I think, Venice right now, which is amazing. Anyone who doesn't travel, you have to. And I get it. Believe me, my wife lives in this world where she's been traveling for years, so she assumes everyone travels. And I come from a family where no one traveled ever. Like I can count. We went to Disney a lot. We did Disney, which in essence actually is more expensive than any of the trips I've taken my wife. So my parents actually could have done a lot more traveling, but you don't know it. Like no one tells you that going to Europe's cheaper than going to Orlando, Florida, which is 3 hours away. And it is. It's cheap. I spent in one weekend when we went in February, my sister was taking the nephews and the niece or the family. And we're like, all right, we got to do a whole thing. We got to see them. The first Disney. We're really close, which is cool. And we went as a family. I spent almost half of what we spend in 10 days in Europe. Like, honestly, it's not even a joke. Like, so it is what it is. Like, that's Disney. So we did a lot of Disney. Like, we didn't go trips. I'm not lamenting it. They weren't like, they didn't think about traveling. Like in America, you don't, like in Europe, you automatically travel, you just assume. Like here, we don't think you can go to Europe and not go broke. Like, you don't think about it. Like, the flight's a lot, but everything else isn't. And they want you there. And all the stuff you hear about how people feel about Americans is not how they feel when you're there. They're very happy to, even the French, look, the French aren't, I don't know. I was gonna say energetic. It's not about energy. They're not like, yay, come here. You know, that's just not. But that's not who they are at all as people. Like, they're not mean to you though. You know, like, they love Americans because most of the country's tourism is a huge part of what they do, especially the countries that most Americans go to, and so they embrace you. So over there, oof, like when traveling over there, there's nothing like it. So Defo's there now. I'm happy for him. I'm proud of him for finally getting over there. And I tell you, and I don't work for any travel, and no, I do stuff with Mike Mayo and visit Florida is a big part of it, and that's cool. And you should come to Florida. You should also get the hell out. Not because of what's going on. What's going on, that's a whole nother. I don't even know. We don't talk too much politics here, but I mean, I'm like, not only I'm sad, angry. I'm like going through the grief process with what's going on in our country. But even before then, let's say our country was doing all the things we all wanted to do, I still would go, because you got to get the heck out and you got to meet people and you got to see stuff and you got to try different food and you got to just experience it. And every country is different and every mentality is different. And it's really cool to like immerse yourself in it. And then it's cool to come back. I love it here. I'd rather not live it. And I used to say I won't. Now it's changed to I'd rather. Who the fuck knows what it'll be this time after November, if things don't go a certain way. But I'd rather live here. There's nothing like America. And me being a sports enthusiast, not even that it's my career, it's literally my passion, my everything. No other country cares about it like we do. Like, it's just different. Like, the fact that I'll do this for 2 hours and not lose anything. I could just go straight by myself for 2 hours if I really wanted to, talking sports, only happens here. Like, there's not that much sports everywhere else. They love it. They have a passion when it's on. They'll talk about a move here and there, and then they go about their day. It's not like I'll go around and hear sports conversations all day, wherever the hell I go. Even people who aren't huge into sports, like, that doesn't happen overseas. So that's something why I'm happy I'm here. I'm happy he's there. I'm happy you're with me. Yes, to get into the sports. And I was going to joke and say, look, you'll get more sports. It's me. And we talked no sports. So I guess I've been around Defo a long time. From the guy that really would be like, when I first started with him, so we just did a sports show for 2 hours and we talked about nothing sports. Like, that's like, you would throw out a tagline of something sports and then we would go off into like 18 tangents that nothing to do with sports. And I would try and wrangle him in. And he would go, Lubie, who gives a shit? So I guess it's rubbed off on me after almost 12 years where I've been on for 20 minutes and haven't talked by myself and haven't talked any sports. But it is interesting to see the Warriors be back here. And we've seen it of the really good sports organizations. And it's on our podcast, talked about it with Coach Tim Brewster, a guy that I was just talking about. He talked about it's about relationships. It's about connecting. You know, like, people think, okay, a guy ages out, a guy loses his touch on the game. No, what happens is, and we hear this cliche when coaches are fired, and it's true, but it doesn't have to happen. Their message got old. Their message got old. Well, their message got old because they got old, and not age. You can be old. And look, Saban, no one realizes how old Saban is. Saban is like late 60s. Like, he's old, quote unquote, by coaching standards, you would think, but he works at it and he's fluid. And that's the thing. It's about connecting with the player, whether it's the pros or college or high school, or I'm coaching my nephew's basketball team. Believe me, you want to have an issue connecting. That's a good time. That's the dream, trying to connect with 7 and 8-year-olds. Trying to connect. I've coached 6-year-olds. That's the fun thing. But that's the name of the game. And like, what we've seen from the Warriors, not Kerr, and I think he's a good coach. Winning with great talent isn't an automatic. I gave Phil Jackson a lot of crap when I was growing up because I hated Michael Jordan. Yes, I know everyone loves him. No, I hated him. I hated Michael Jordan. I despised him. And I couldn't stand the Bulls. So I put that on Jackson. And you will see we've seen the super teams in multiple sports, not just basketball, not win. So just putting talent together, a collection of talent, doesn't automatically win. So the coach does have to make it work, especially with egos, especially in this day and age where the players, and I think it's right, should run the sport to a certain extent. We go to watch them, and they do. So the coach really has to deal with egos. So Steve Kerr being able to work with a Draymond Green, who's literally working on for TNT and talking about games as he's playing in the games. Like, it's a fucking weird dichotomy. It's an interesting situation to be analyzed. It's usually, you would think, a conflict of interest. He's analyzing the games on certain days. He does a podcast all the time where he's very open, and then he plays. And then he played Draymond, who's like a lunatic and really aggressive and a great player. So, like, that, Kerr's dealing with that. Steph is more mild-mannered. Clay is mild-mannered. You have all these egos, and he does a great job with it. But Kerr isn't Spo, who gets a lot of crap. Kerr doesn't win when his team doesn't have the talent. He's shown that. They didn't make the playoffs at all. Last year, they had Kerr. They had Curry, who was in and out. They didn't have Thompson, and they, like, what were they, barely get the playing thing? Like, so Kerr isn't making average better, but he's good at taking what's there and making that. Oh, Ken's early. Very early. I need him that early. He's good at taking what's good and winning with it. And that's what the great coaches can do, is connect with the players. And what another thing that's interesting is taking young and mixing it with old. Because a lot of that time that doesn't work. You saw it with when Dwayne Wade went to Chicago, and you had like the old guys, Butler and Wade, and then young guys. You saw it with Butler in Minnesota, where you had these young dudes who just wanted to, we're young, we don't have expectations. We're not at that place where we really only care about winning yet. And Butler, who literally lives in, Butler shouldn't be on the court right now. Like, he's not himself, but the dude, good luck getting him off the court in the Eastern Conference Finals for games. Like, mixing old and young is not easy. And the Warriors have done it seamless. Like, I never heard, the gentleman who's about to join us, Ken Jacobson, knows college basketball in and out. I haven't known college basketball like that since the early 90s when I was like really into it. I never heard the name Jordan Poole. I never heard Poole. They didn't have Curry and didn't skip a beat. Like, that's fucking weird. Like, Curry is showing you he's still a top 5 player in the league, top 10 at times, best player in the league. And they didn't have him, and it didn't matter. Like, that's weird. Like, most teams aren't able to mix young and old at the same time. You transition in and out. But at the same time, so that's why the Warriors to me are just scary. Like, and I said it early in the season, then Defo made fun of me because they went on, was it 2 months where they really struggled? Well, they didn't struggle. It's what the Heat are dealing with now. They had injuries. And at some point, you can only mask so much. Draymond Green, last night he finally scored, but he doesn't score a lot anymore. But he does fucking everything else. He passes. He is the leader on defense. He's like 6'7", defending 7-foot guys and doing a good job at it. He rebounds. He's like the second coach behind Kerr on and off the court. Like, and they didn't have him playing. Not having him totally changed them. They went down. But when they've had all their players, no one touched them. Like, no one. The Grizzlies were interesting with or without Morant, but no one touched them. So to me, that's why a lot of people who are like hemming and hawing about the Heat Celtics, I've been talking about this with a lot of people, Defo last week. To me, the Warriors, as long as Curry didn't get hurt, we're going to win it all. So it's like, yeah, you want to get to the finals. Yay, finals. But if you know you're going to lose, it sort of stems the tide for me a little bit. It makes it less painful when you don't think you really have a shot to win it all. And now it's really annoying. Clay, his 8 threes. Clay wasn't being Clay. They were questioning his defense, rightfully so. His offense wasn't the same. And now he was the leader. Curry had 15 last night. And the Warriors were up by double digits the entire night. The Mavs went on a run and cut it to 10. Like, that team is ridiculous. That team is insane. And maybe the Celtics, because I think the Celtics close it out tonight. The Heat are just not themselves. I don't think the Celtics hold a candle to this team. Like, the Celtics defense is really good. Jason Tatum is one of the most overrated. Like, it's so weird how what market you're in depends on how good you are. Like, Jimmy Butler, if anyone watched Jimmy Butler in these playoffs and Jason Tatum in these playoffs, there's no way you even compare the two guys. Jimmy Butler isn't as pretty on offense. He does everything Jason Tatum does on offense, if not more. And that you can't, I love that they were like, well, Tatum's better on defense. No, he's not. Kevin Durant wasn't himself and was eating him up. Like, Jason Tatum just plays for the Celtics. So he has to be great because he's on the Celtics. No, he doesn't have to be great. He's really good. He's better than a lot of people thought he could be. He's a star. He's not a top 10 player, and he's not better than Jimmy Butler. He's not the best player in the series. He is now because Pritchard fucking tripped Jimmy Butler. He landed on his goddamn knee in game 3 and has not been the same. But the Celtics are overrated. The Warriors aren't. The Warriors are actually somehow underrated, which is hard to say for a team that is in the finals, but they're underrated. They were the best team all year when healthy. The Suns couldn't even get past the Mavs, who the Warriors should have swept them, but they're like, in game 4, and then they closed it out last night. So the Warriors are sitting there waiting for the Celtics. I was very clear yesterday how I feel about the Miami Heat. You don't want to use injury as an excuse, fine, as a reason. Okay, they're missing shots. Okay, this team's missed shots for 3 straight games. Like, they were the best shooting thing. Yeah, versus the Hawks, they had a game, and the Phillies, the Sixers had a game. They were not missing shots for 3 straight games. Okay? They're 4 of their top 5 guys. Hero's not even being allowed to play, and he wants to. The doctors won't let him. And Spo's already deferred to the doctors. Jimmy Butler can't lift and can't cut to the basket, even though he was dominating games every series. Tucker was playing maybe the 3rd best player, is not the same dude. He's clearly hurt. Like, and Strus is, so it's fine. You don't want to use it as a reason. Okay, cool. Use whatever reason you want. It's over because of that. Like, I would rather than be off. You can come back from being off. You can find your shot. This team, again, was the best 3-point shooting team in the league in the regular season. So I'd assume they'd regress to the mean or grow to the mean, raise to the mean. Cool. But, like, that's not the problem. They're hurt. You can't wipe away injury. Like, you watch them play tonight. Watch. Like, and I love Spo. Well, you got to fight through the toughness. You would have won that game. Spo, there's no way you lose that game. No way. You're up 5 at half. It's a 1-point game with 4 minutes left. They can't make a shot. Like, so for whatever reason, to me, it's going to be Celtics Warriors, which is annoying. And I love you, Visser Mama. I hate the Celtics. And I don't hate all Boston teams like a lot of people. I hate the New York teams. But the Boston fan is really making it hard for me to not hate the Boston team. Like, the Boston fan is really a raving lunatic. Like, and I get it, we all are. Look at me, I'm literally talking to myself. And I do this when a camera's not on me. So I understand fans. But Boston, go be a crazy fan. That's literally short for fanatic. Boston fans are tough to, like, not hate their teams. I will openly admit that. I hate the Patriots. We know that. I hate the Celtics. I've never had an issue with the Red Sox. They've sort of become annoying because they went from being the losers to the winners, and they forgot that they lost for 100 years. Now it's like they've won forever. No, you lost for 100 years. And I don't care about the Bruins. But seeing the Celtics move on is really annoying. The Heat, I didn't see them beating the Warriors, so it is what it is. But it's annoying. But to me, it's going to be Celtics Warriors. I think the Warriors will win in 5 or 6. And then we'll talk football, I guess. I don't know. We'll talk some baseball. I know coming up next, we'll talk a lot of USFL. This gentleman is doing things. It's not luck when you just it's not like the 4th random, and it's not random sport, 4th random entity. Because he did Taiwanese baseball, then Taiwanese basketball, then Australian rules football, which I had never even heard of that. I know rugby. I knew that they had soccer, football, cricket. I'd never even heard of Australian rules football. Like, I'd never heard of it. And he picked it up and was winning. Now, USFL, which most people can't even stomach to watch, if he's not undefeated, it's just stupid what he's doing with USFL. So we'll talk USFL. And, of course, like Defo and I talk about, our favorite time of the week. And we're not being disingenuous. We're not, bullshitting you. We love the Professor's, I will almost say power rankings, what he did for years. The Professor's Big Board Top 5, which will be short after our USFL conversation. And I'm sure we'll talk a lot about Boston sports because he's definitely a huge Boston fan. So we'll talk about that coming up. And at 8:30, we will have the one and only Mike Mayo. So the Professor will be joining me next. One and only Mike Mayo, the Gambling Gourmet, will join around 8:30. And again, check out our conversation from yesterday on Believe. It was a really good conversation. Coach Tim Brewster was very open, very honest about NIL. He embraces it. He coached with Jimbo for years, so he had interesting opinion on the Jimbo Fisher, Nick Saban tete-a-tete. So definitely check out that Believe, BLEAV.com. Search After Hours. And coming up next, more of the Defo Show without Defo, with Lubie, here on Ion Channel with the Professor and the Professor's Big Board Top 5, following a lot of USFL. I'm actually going to get into it because he went 2-0 last week again. Like, his Shea Patterson sucks theory is almost becoming like science. It's a theory until it's proven. When is it proven? Like, it feels like it's proven, and it's like a fact at this point. So we'll talk with the Professor coming up next right here on the Defo Show with Lubie.
Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. You're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. Good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs, unmatched. Steaks, hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Any time of year, things can happen to your home or business, and the insurance company can be your friend, but they also can be your enemy. Horizon Public Adjusters, Justina Testa, are here for you to help this process go so much easier. 7 to 10 times more money recovered with a public adjuster than if you went on your own. If there's no recovery, there's no fee. Before you call your insurance company, call Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa at 954-809-8752.
Robert Klein, a pleasure. Huge fans and been bombarded with messages and texts attesting to your brilliance and how much they have enjoyed your work over the years, and still outstanding. Thanks so much. I don't know if you have 1 second real quick.
Yeah.
The Bronx Olympics would look like what? I called a friend of mine and I asked him if he was watching the fencing, and he said he thought that involved moving stolen merchandise. But the Bronx Olympics, so what would be the number one event?
The number one event will be the shout. Who could shout the yo? Hey, yo!
The only way to get your morning started is with Defo, joined by Lubie, right here on the Defo Show.
Good morning, one and all. Welcome back to the Defo Show. He doesn't always say with Lubie, and that's fine, but if it's just Lubie, I presume, I guess you have to say sort of with Lubie. I mean, it's just me. And this gentleman who usually joins us, well, he's supposed to join us every week at like 10 minutes from now, but then Defo does a Defo, so he doesn't join us till like 30 minutes from now. The professor is with us once again, and we're going to talk a little bit. We usually talk USFL, a little bit about sports, and the professor big board, but he's early today, so we're going to jump into the sports action. Whatever I feel for the Boston sports world, he feels times a million. He's actually led me on the charge because I've never had issues outside of the Patriots, and hearing him every week is really ramping me up for my hatred for Boston sports. The professor, good morning, Mr. Ken Jacobson. How you doing?
Morning. What's up, Lubes?
You're right. You have a face like you just lost a bet.
Well, you've been talking about Boston for 30 minutes. So
well, slamming.
No, actually, I take it back. You started off first 20 minutes serving as the European Tourism Board and praising the freaking French. Wasn't a twist I was really ready for this morning. Oh no, the French, they're really actually very nice to us. No, the French suck. Don't listen to them.
Nice to me. I don't have an issue with them. So anyways,
really,
right,
so the French gravitate to you. I'm not sure that's a good sign for you, actually. They probably didn't think you were American. They probably thought you were Canadian.
Maybe. I guess I don't scream American. All right, this is the professor. He joins us each and every week. I do want to talk a little bit about, we don't always talk basketball with you, but a little bit about.
I, by the way, didn't have that problem when I was in Europe. Everybody instantly knew I was American for some reason.
I wonder why.
And like the girl I was with at the time, actually, this was like the middle of the Bush years where they like spit on you if you were like, stupid American George Bush. Yeah, wanted to pass as Canadian. I was like, I don't think that's gonna happen for you, sweetheart. I mean, you're with me.
Dip.
Yeah, pretty sure.
They made some other countries, but like I don't know.
Something about me uniquely American, I think.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. All right, so, and of course, we'll get to the big board, which always talks about interesting things going on in the week. It's an interesting week when it comes to the world outside. When it comes to the world of sports, it's been even more interesting. What's your take on the series? You've heard me lament about the injuries, and I get it. That's just a
Okay,
childish
before we
thing
get
to
into
do.
that, I
Yeah.
think we need to take a moment and, obviously it's a terrible week for America, for the United States. We're all grieving. We're all, trying to look past a moment in our country that's going to leave a deep wound for a long time. And that, of course, is that Jason Tatum came back quickly from a neck injury instead of being paralyzed.
I'm like, people don't buy into it. You have to know where he's going.
Such a golden moment wasted.
Wasted.
What's happened in this series? Number one,
What is
obviously,
your take?
the Heat have just too many injuries. I mean, you looked at, I think it was before Game 4, the pregame injury report, and literally there were like 7 dudes on it for
Yes.
the Heat. So
It was like a Patriots report.
there's that. Number 2, I don't know how much you've been doing this, because I know off the mic you're this guy, but I don't know if you want to be on the mic. You can't ignore the officiating. I'm sorry. Game 3, which the Heat won. I think it was 2, maybe 3 minutes left. At one point, the free throw margin was 30-5, and then Boston started fouling at the end. I think it finished 30-12 in that game. 2 nights ago, and again, I'm not saying this is why the Heat lost. The Heat shot and in general played like crap in that game. Yes. But on the road, Boston's got like a 15 free throw disparity. That's ridiculous in the NBA. And it comes back to who has the star power. And for whatever reason, people have gravitated towards Jason Tatum as the star in this series and one of the stars of the league. I'm not sure I entirely agree with that. I'm not saying he's not a great player. He is a great player.
Yeah.
But to me, he's more like a top 10 to 15 guy than he is a top 5 guy. But, again, we talked about it, was a week or 2 ago. Jimmy Butler, very free throw dependent on his game. Well, he can't get to the line for the last 3 games. So that's going to have an impact in terms of the way these games have been officiated. In my opinion, have had a big impact on the series. And then obviously the last 2 games, the Heat just can't shoot. So, you combine all of that, and what you're going to get is, if you're the Heat, you're trying to like flash back to the 1960 World Series, the Pirates and the Yankees.
Yes, that's what I actually thought about.
Smoked the Pirates 3 times, and the Pirates, I think, won 4 one-run games. If you're the Heat, you're hoping to win a couple of one-run games over the next couple of nights. I don't know that I think that's going to happen, particularly in the Boston Garden. But we'll see. I mean, all you can do, not to be all stupid sports cliche guy, take them one game at a time, put one foot forward after the other. You can only win tonight, and I hope we get somebody, and I have no idea who it would be at this point, but we hope comes up with that LeBron in Game 6 in the Boston Garden against the Celtics some years ago performance. I think that's what it's going to take, is somebody to play out of their mind. And I guess it would pretty much have to be Bam in terms of health.
Well, that's well, that's the thing, is who is it? And look, I didn't even mean to go to the injuries as a point of being a whiner, because in the end, the Celtics, when they win, like the Heat have won because they were the more healthy team. We've learned sports forever, but sports now more than ever, it's whoever's healthy. Last year's the finals existed because there was 2 teams standing. Like the Suns and the Bucks weren't the 2 best teams on the way. The Bucks, if Kevin Durant without Irving and Harden, if Kevin Durant's foot is a foot back, the Bucks lose to the Nets in like the second round, first round. So like the Bucks weren't the best team in the
conference finals, actually. But
was it the conference? Was the Nets? I don't think it was conference finals.
Yes, it was.
They played the Hawks in the conference finals. It was the second round. They played the Nets. They played the Nets, I think, in the second round. But without Irving, without Harden for like multiple games, the Nets almost won. So the Bucks weren't the best team. They were the healthiest. Same thing with the Suns. So we knew that going in. Whoever was, and the Celtics were the team banged up going into the series. I admit that. Right now it's Heat. So to me, you can't wish and hope about injuries. Like if guys are hurt, they're hurt. So to me, I'd love to hope that they win tonight. But they would have done that.
You can wish and hope about anything, Lubie. I mean,
but I'm saying hope with actual reality behind it. Like there's like religion where you hope about things and you really don't know what's behind it. You're just hoping, and that's fine. You're allowed to do that. When it's sports, I usually hope thinking it can happen. Like, I would hope they win tonight knowing they're not. Like, if they were going to win, they would have done in game 6. You just said it. The free throw disparity has been asinine wherever they're playing. They're back in Boston with a closeout game. Like,
well, okay, look, as long as guys are playing, as long as they're physically in the game, you have hope, except for Kyle Lowry because he sucks.
Yeah, well, it's done. But I think Jimmy Butler's too, and I think PJ Tucker's too. Like, there's like 4 guys, and here they're not even let play. So I don't know. To me, I've already moved on to the finals, and that's where I've already started talking to people, and they're trying to talk up the finals. It's something that you've talked about with me a lot, where the NBA's lost a lot of attention. Now the Warriors are there, and you're seeing actually the numbers up, so it makes sense when the Warriors or LeBron are there. The numbers are a little better.
Honestly, that's one thing we can get into. I find that very curious. That this has been the year where the NBA's TV ratings have rebounded because, number one, no LeBron. And obviously, he has been the key figure in the NBA for a decade or so now. And number two, honestly, most of these games and most of these series have been garbage.
Yes.
I mean, in terms of the actual gameplay, it has been I'm not the only person to say this by any means. I've heard lots of other, big sports voices and small sports voices admit it. There have been a lot of blowouts. There's been a lot of poorly played games. I mean, like these NBA playoffs have kind of been crap, and for some reason, it's been a TV ratings turnaround. For the life of me, can't explain it honestly.
Well, I think it's multiple things. First of all, the COVID world, and it's funny. Our team played in the finals, and I was thinking about how this run for the Heat felt so much more amped up to me than that run, and they played better that run, and they got to a finals in that run. And to me, it was because the whole playing in that arena that looked like a high school gym with no one there, the whole time just felt weird. And we were happy to have sports.
I just don't think people were ready for sports. Were ready for sports to be back at that point.
Well, exactly. Our focus was on living and being able to leave our
No,
house.
I understand those ancillary reasons why ratings were down, but I don't think that was the only reason ratings were down. I don't understand the rebound while the games have been, because I will tell you myself, I have watched the start of a lot of games. I have watched the first and second quarter of a lot of games, but I have turned I've watched pretty much every second of the Heat, but a lot of the other series, I've turned a lot of games off in like the middle of the second quarter because they have been bad games. And on a TV ratings basis, that hasn't happened. People have been with it. And honestly, just to, use an example, that Suns Mavericks series, which, congratulations to the Mavericks, a franchise I'm not a huge fan of because there's been a little rivalry between them and the Heat. But like every game in that series was garbage. It was hard to watch. So again, I'm a bit mystified by the NBA's playoff ratings turnaround in a playoffs that have not been a good. I mean, outside, I would say the Milwaukee-Boston series was pretty consistently great. But other than that, there really haven't been a lot of great series in these playoffs. Again, the Mavericks Suns was competitive. It was a 7-game series, but all the games were trash.
Well, and what I was trying to say is, okay, so you had the COVID thing. Then last year you came back from COVID, but you still weren't having fans in every arena. It still felt weird. So this is the first year in 2 years that you've had just playoffs. No, people aren't wearing masks. People aren't talking about it.
Except Steve Kerr. Why is Steve Kerr still wearing a mask? That is really weird.
Udoka does that. I'm not going to cover my nose wearing a mask. So that means
yeah.
I don't know. I was actually going to ask someone about that the other day. Why? Like, what is his thing? I mean, maybe he's not vaccinated, so he's trying to be safe. I don't know. But like, so it feels more like basketball. That's 1. 2. The Warriors are there. Like you taught me this. I never even thought about this. Like, because I watch basketball, and you always made fun of me for giving a shit about the regular season and the fucking summer leagues. But like most people don't watch regular season at all, and even the playoffs the last few years they haven't watched. But the Warriors, when they had the run versus the Cavs, the ratings were solid, if not good at times. The Warriors have been out the last 2 years. Well, they're back, and they're not only back. They're not just a playing team. They're the show. And they're fun.
That's it.
They get people's attention, I think. I don't know.
Maybe that's it. I think at the time, anyway, the perception was that people weren't turning in for the Warriors. People were turning in for LeBron. When they were getting those series. I don't know. again, I can't really explain it because the product has not been good.
It's been ass.
But for whatever reason, people are coming back to the NBA. Again, maybe it's just we all lost our goddamn minds during COVID because a lot of weird sports things happened during COVID. Like that, I don't know if you remember, but like the ratings for golf shot through the roof, and not just for the majors, but like people were tuning in for like the Santa Fe Open or whatever stupid golf events were going on. So again, maybe we just all lost our minds during COVID and are coming back to the baseline. I don't know.
So the Warriors do finish off the Celtics. The Warriors do finish off the Mavs last night. Luka was Luka, but again, and Dinwiddie actually had a nice game too. But at some point, that team is just a freight train. The Celtics, I think, will finish off the Heat tonight. We will have time to talk to you about that series, but I do want just a quick take on it because I'm talking to people, and I think it's, even if it was the Heat, and even if the Heat were healthy this year, I don't think they would have gone more than 6 games with the Warriors, being brutally honest. People who love basketball are telling me, well, look at the Celtics and the defense. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I think you're just hoping to finally get a good series. Like you just said, every series has sucked outside of the Celtics, Bucks, and I think a couple games, Grizzlies, Warriors, every game, every series has been horrendous. What do you think? Do you give, I know you can't stand them, but give them a shot at all? Like, to me, the Warriors are just on a different plane right now.
I mean, part of the thing with the Celtics is do we know what the Celtics are defensively at this point? No, I'm not saying that to insult them. I'm saying that you played against Milwaukee. Chris Middleton was hurt, and nobody could defend Giannis at all. And it was a competitive 7-game series. The Milwaukee had a couple of chances to win. You played against the Heat. Your defense was not great until Jimmy Butler got hurt.
Yep.
Now that Jimmy Butler got hurt, you have great. Okay, is that great defense, or is that the Heat's whole offensive game guy has been hurt for a few games? And we were saying this when the Heat was up 2-1 in the series. That the Heat needs to find an option other than Jimmy Butler. The Heat needs to. So are the Celtics great defensively, or are they playing against wounded teams? Because when they get in against the Warriors, they're playing. I mean, honestly, except for Klay Thompson, every Warrior was beneath his game last night, and they still, took Dallas out easily to the woodshed and beat the hell out of them. So my prediction would be the Warriors in like 5. But I go in saying I don't know what the Boston Celtics really are when they have to play against the full roster, when they have to play a team arguably that has more talent than they do. I don't know what the Boston Celtics are. In this series, they have not looked like, heart and hustle and desire and toughness and all that. That's been the Heat. Boston has looked like the team who wins when everything goes right for them. Well, not everything's going to go right for you playing the Warriors. We'll see.
Well, and the thing is, the ref issue, they may get it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other issue is
the Warriors.
Is Marcus Smart going to be allowed? Well, I don't know. I think this is, again, when you're playing the Celtics, this is always a possibility that Marcus Smart is going to be allowed to, carry a knife on the court and stab Stephen Curry in the middle of the second quarter. You just don't know. I mean, this has happened with Boston a lot over the years. So is it going to happen again in an NBA Finals? It's possible. It's possible they'll get all the calls again. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I'm saying it's within the realm of possibility.
Steph is like Mr. NBA. The NBA loves him some Steph. He's the one guy that no one seems to hate.
The NBA now loves him some Marcus Smart too, which is a development I did not see happening. Ever.
People hate the Heat though. The league's always had a thing with Miami. Riley.
I don't know. That's not true. I know Heat fans love that to live on that. Let's be honest here. As brutal as this series, as brutal as this series has been, it was that brutal for Mavericks fans back in the 07 finals when when D Wade was going to the free throw line 25 times a game.
Dirk went a lot on jumpers in that series. A lot. Look at the numbers. I look at the free throw numbers.
When you're going to bitch about it when it's your own team, call it the other way when it's.
The time I would say was LeBron Wade. LeBron Wade is when
that was another period of time where, even though a lot of people nationally, fans didn't hate the NBA, hated the Miami Heat. A lot of referees really liked there's the famous one where I'm trying to remember who it was for Chicago. It might have been Oh, damn. Anyway,
Rose.
takes a swipe and misses Chris Bosch's face by like 8 inches, and Bosch falls over backwards, and a foul gets called.
Yeah.
And it became a very, very famous GIF on the internet. The Heat have seen the benefit of this too. So now that you're on the fuzzy end of the lollipop, don't whine about it,
League hates
because
us.
you got at
we
least
can
one and
whine.
maybe a couple titles about it.
can whine,
on the
just-
back of it.
I won't deny that we haven't got our favor in years. I mean, we have for sure, 100%. I mean, look, the Knicks.
The NBA may or may not hate this Heat team because this Heat team doesn't have a superstar. The NBA has really liked the Heat over the years. So
and they have, look, it all, you said it. In the end, it comes around to the superstars, wherever the superstars are. Look, Michael Jordan never fouled out ever, and Michael Jordan was the most aggressive defensive player you would have seen on the perimeter. So, and in an era where they didn't call a lot of fouls, he was one guy that went to the line like the way James Harden goes to the line now. So,
I think Karl Malone lived at the free throw line too.
Well, a lot of guys did, but I mean, stars have always gotten star treatment. I mean, and I get it. I don't know. Then it's the Miami Heat now, whatever you want to call it. The league's not really worried about Miami. The Warriors is a different thing. The Warriors has become their baby.
I mean, maybe they are, maybe they are. I don't know. We're gonna find out.
We'll see. At least I think we'll see. I mean, I guess the Heat do have a game tonight. It's not. I was already acting like it was over. I forgot they do have a game. They do have guys that can't hit threes. If Strus and Vincent can wake up, and Robinson has been hitting some threes, I guess. I don't know.
That's kind of a problem when your hopes come down to Strus and Duncan Robinson.
And that's why, to me, the series is over. But if you're going to be hopeful, I guess I can be hopeful. If Ken Jacobson can be hopeful.
No, look. If you're asking me to pick tonight's game, I'm picking Boston. No question about it. But like, you're ready to put a gun to your head, and I, or at least a gun to the Heat season's head, and I will at least say, hey, you never know. It's sports. One of the great things we like about sports, or we love about sports, is that for one game, anything can happen. Particularly basketball, where it only takes one dude having a freaky shooting night sometimes.
Well, hopefully that's tonight. I don't know who that dude would be. Maybe Butler magically feels better. I don't know. We'll see. The Heat have game 6 tonight up in Boston. We'll see if they can get to the line. That was my favorite. That it was like near the end of the second quarter, and they're like, the Heat are shooting their first 2 free throws. I'm like, what? And then it was near the end of the third. The Heat are shooting their second 2 free throws. I'm like, how is that even? I'm like, whatever. Like, do what you do. Refs, do what you do. This is the Defo show. No Defo. He is overseas. I think by now he's got to be in Venice.
Let's hope so.
I am Lubie. Yeah, he left yesterday afternoon. You have the professor here. He has been killing it when it comes to USFL. So coming up, we will have the professor's big board. I do want to get to your USFL picks after another undefeated weekend. And we touched on it with you, and it's because of another 12. I'm exaggerating, and I don't even need to, because another 3 mass shootings in the last week plus. We've moved on from a fight that wasn't really a fight. But I did want to talk to you. We sort of threw out the Jimbo Fisher, Nick Saban thing last week. But again, with Defo, we move into 7 different topics within the same topic. So I actually wanted to get into that a little bit, as you are a college football expert. And you're usually,
I wouldn't go that far, but okay.
You are our college football expert. I don't know if you are a college football expert. You're our college football expert. What did you take from that? And I know what you said last week, and you said to me, what did Nick Saban say that was a lie? I agree with you there. I'm just talking about in general. Like, how real do you think it was? Some people think it was totally bullshit, and I don't know why they would have faked it, but you never know with the SEC, just to drum up more interest, because that's what they love.
Nick Saban's not gonna work a shoot with Jimbo Fisher. I know that,
well, that's been on the internet and full of bullshit.
People think they're best friends or whatever between a couple of years at LSU. I don't think they're that close. I think it was absolutely legitimate. Any situation, and then of course Lane Kiffin came in with the elbow drop the other day, which I thought was fantastic. It was such a Lane Kiffin move. For those who don't know, Lane Kiffin came out the other day and said that Bryce Young should have entered the transfer portal to try to get more NIL money from somebody, even if it was to get Alabama to up their offer.
From Alabama.
The take I heard that makes the most sense was, when you look in context who Nick Saban was speaking to. He was speaking to a group of Alabama boosters when he made his comments. And basically, Nick Saban was telling the Alabama boosters, I need you to start getting more NIL money, because this is the key of how I'm going to maintain our massive recruiting advantage that we've had for a decade plus now. So I want more money from you. So he was drumming up the troops. I think that's probably what it was. How real was it? Yeah, it's real. I mean, look, again, I said it last week, and it's not just Texas A&M. Tennessee came up with that ridiculous, what was it, like $8 million package
For the
for a
guy who's like
five-star
the fourth
quarterback.
best quarterback.
This is, again, the college football landscape has kind of become the Wild West in terms of money with these NIL deals, and it's going to get ugly and competitive sometimes. No, I don't think it was for attention. I think Nick Saban was calling people out because he's trying to get more money out of the Alabama boosters.
Okay, you've been a big proponent about getting kids paid. You've actually been you're a business owner. Your family has been dealt with money, and
if you're trying to get me to give Florida State some money, it's not going to happen, Lubie.
If you're giving money to anyone, I would presume it'd be your dear friend Mr. Ruiz, who supposedly we'll see at some point in the near far future. But like, you've been on the bandwagon a long time since I've known you about kids getting paid. So it's not like you're against that. But you also are a guy that couldn't stand Cam Newton for being a bullshitter about getting paid and lying to everyone's face.
Yes.
What we know, and you've also said the NCAA is a joke as well in there, but you're also, with a lot of people like I've talked to, this is out of hand. There's got to be so. But how do you fix it?
No, I'm not saying it's out. Well, I guess it is out of hand, but I don't care.
Good or bad, it's just it is out of hand. Whether that's good or bad, it is what it is. How can you? People are like, well, we need to have guidelines. Who has a guideline? The NCAA has no rule over this, and no one wants them to. The programs don't give a shit about the NCAA, nor should they. They're a joke. Okay, so who reins it in, and how do you rein it in? Because to me,
first of all, you ask the question.
The athlete when they rein it in.
First of all, the question needs to be asked: how do you or should you rein it in? And I'm not sure you should. Okay. Honestly, if Billy Bob, the car dealer in Huntsville, Alabama, wants to give Bryce Young $250,000, I don't care.
Okay.
That's between the Alabama fan and his accountant and Bryce Young. It doesn't. Here's my question.
Yeah.
We all agree it's out of control. Is it changing the landscape anywhere?
That's funny. Oh wait, I mean, you've heard it's leveling the playing field. It's leveling the playing field.
Is it? I mean, I know they're saying that, but if I go to the recruiting rankings, it's going to be the same 10 schools that it's always been.
It is.
And there's a connection there in that part of the reason those same 10 schools were dominant in the first place is because they had a budget, and now they've got the off the field. I don't even know what you call it, the off the board support. Yeah. Those same people that were instead of giving $20 million to the booster club, they're now giving $10 million to the booster club and $10 million to players.
Now, yeah.
So again, the top 4 schools haven't changed.
Nope.
What's different? So again, should we be up in arms about this? I don't really see why. It doesn't seem to be moving the needle in terms of results for me. So again, the only reason I would say to regulate it isn't because of anything that's going on in recruiting, and it isn't anything that's going on in terms of off the field product. The only reason I would see to regulate it is you are now seeing what used to be known as the street agent sort of rearing his head in a more official capacity, I guess. The Ruizes of the world. This player was out of Penn State, this quarterback out of Penn State, who looks like the skeeviest kid you can expect. There's going to be a bad situation to arrive out of this where you have these, let's call them compilers, these guys who are bringing in all sorts of athletes and basically acting as an agent or a broker in the NIL. So one of them is going to rip a bunch of kids off. That's inevitable. But other than that, I don't really necessarily see a need to regulate it. I mean, again, people want to spend their money, spend it now. And as Julian comments, it's just legal now. It really is kind of that. We all know this has been going on a long time. Now it's the only difference I would say is that some people, mostly hot girls, who weren't getting paid by boosters are now getting paid by and that's fine. It's some money for athletes who weren't going to make any money over the old system because nobody gives a damn about their gymnastics team or their girls volleyball team. Some of those girls are getting paid some bucks now, and and God bless them for it. Who cares?
Yeah,
I mean, that to me is really the only difference between this system now and what was the system a few years back is that a few people from some oddball sports, again, mostly hot girls, are getting paid.
Yeah. Oh, and I agree. And that's the thing. When people are like, it's out of hand, I'm like, yeah, it is. And that's the thing. It's been out of hand the other way. So fine, good. Let it be out of hand this way for a little bit. Let the players themselves make some money and it be unfair and whatever the hell you want to say. I'm all for it because I've been waiting for them to get paid for so long. And the NCAA should have been aggressive and should have been active and tried to find a way to get the money and maybe would have stemmed the tide on this. They didn't. Okay, so all hell's broken loose. And it is what it is. Before we get to the big
I don't think, by the way, that all hell has broken loose yet.
It hasn't broken yet. Oh,
I
Jesus.
think we are. I think we saw it. Honestly, I think we saw it start to take shape this week, and I think we were about 6 months away from all hell breaking loose. The thing that's going to either sort of make us realize everything's going to be okay, or completely break the system is Arch Manning. You saw it this week. Alabama signed a quarterback out of Texas who was a Texas A&M commit, which I thought was pretty funny given what everything's going on. And now people are saying that means Alabama's out on Arch Manning. And Arch Manning is now down to 2 schools, neither of whom were originally supposed to be part of the mix. And that's number 1 seems to be Texas, and Georgia, number 2 seems to be Georgia. Yeah. And one way or another, that's going to be a landmark thing. Number 1, if Kirby Smart manages to land another 5-star quarterback, another Highline quarterback, we need to investigate what the hell is going on with Georgia as much as we've looked at Alabama, because every quarterback now wants to play at Georgia, where quarterbacks aren't particularly successful over and over again. And number 2, if it's Texas, like Arch Manning might make more in NIL than Eli made in his NFL career if he goes to Texas. I can't imagine. When you combine the money that is poured into Texas football and Arch Manning, Jerry Jones might have to give Arch Manning a piece of the stadium. I don't know, even want to fathom what Arch Manning's NIL price is going to look like. And I think that could be the one that either sort of forces the hand on some sort of regulation when Arch Manning signs
than Brady
a $200 million NIL deal with Halliburton. To me, he's the one that, again, is either going to confirm or break the system, because you have the freakiest example of all time where the number 1 prospect is a Manning, and it comes into this new system where kids can get paid. Again, I don't even want to guess what the numbers are going to be. So it's going to be like a Floyd Mayweather fight kind of numbers.
This is the Defo Show. I am Lubie. The professor is with us. I want to move on. I should be keeping track of your record. I have not been, but I think it's easy. It's whatever and 1 or whatever and 0 when it comes to USFL games. You were 2-0 again last week. Your Shea Patterson sucks theory. I'm curious, when do we call it a fact? Like, more, you're more scientifically driven than I am, and maybe you're not, but I'm not at all. But I know hypothesis, theory, fact, when it's proven, it becomes a fact. I mean, every week you're right with this thing. At some point, to me, it's got to become a fact. Where are we this weekend with USFL outside of the Shea? I'm sure whatever team Shea Patterson's playing is going to win in a rout. Where are you this week with the USFL?
It's funny, and I'm kind of pissed at you. You asked me last night, okay, when are they going to start to catch up with the USFL in terms of the lines? And it kind of seems like they have this week.
No. Sorry.
One of the things we've been doing is betting against Pittsburgh every week. That's not the Shea Patterson team. That's a team with the miserable offense. And Pittsburgh's getting 12 this week, which is the first double. I mean, we've barely had lines above a touchdown, and now all of a sudden we pop off with a 12. They are playing Birmingham, who's the best team in the league by a pretty good margin. It kind of looks. It's the first time I've looked at the lines, and stuff hasn't just jumped off the page. Is really obvious. So I blame you, Lubie.
I'm sorry.
Um, I wonder if you haven't called someone at the USFL and
Yeah,
been like,
exactly.
this guy's killing you every week. You maybe want to look at
Vegas.
your Vegas lines. But no, we're going to go against Shea Patterson. We're going to take the New Orleans Breakers, who's one of the better offensive teams in the league. They're playing Michigan, which is quarterbacked by Shea Patterson and coached by Jeff Fisher, the
Best combo ever.
the Batman and Robin of terrible. So we got to lay 5.5, but we're taking New Orleans against 5.5. Why, Lubie?
Why?
Because Shea Patterson sucks.
And it still boggles my mind because a lot of people don't follow recruiting, and even you've sort of fallen away from it. I still follow because I got into it before it was a big deal, so I still follow it. He was such a big deal coming out of high school, and it's so funny that literally he's been bad everywhere. Like Michigan was like, "Yeah, we got him." No, you don't have him. Almost like, "Well, we got him." No, you don't have him. Now he doesn't even go to the NFL. He's in the USFL. He can't. Like that's the thing. As bad as he is, you would think he'd at least be good in the USFL. No. He's actually the worst in the USFL. Shea Patterson sucks. Just ride that one out each and every week, even though they're messing with the lines, which is, I was just curious because I'm like, you're killing it. You can't, they're putting lines for this, so you're not the only one betting it. It's got to be clear to someone.
I mean,
like,
I might be the only one. Let's be honest, I might be the only one betting it. I don't know that for a fact.
They have lines. And
Yeah,
there's no football. People love football.
Anyway, the other game we're taking is the New Jersey Generals laying 4 to Tampa. Tampa is actually the one team in the USFL, and I would actually kind of expect this to be much more widespread, but I guess the UFL has just been very fortunate in terms of injuries. Tampa is the one team in the league that's actually kind of beat up. They were good for a few weeks, definitely receded the last few weeks, largely because of injuries. So we'll take the New Jersey Generals. I like picking them anyway because I feel like it really angers Donald Trump that the fake New Jersey Generals that the USFL paid him like $10 for the rights to are pretty good. So we'll take the Generals -4 over Tampa Bay to be our other USFL pick of the week.
All right, and it's the moment. I don't know if we've all been waiting.
Are we going there already? All right.
Or we can take a break. I mean, whatever makes you happy.
No, I don't care.
Let's take a break. I figure I wouldn't waste your time with a break. I'd let you just get right into it. You're a busy man. The moment I've been waiting for, and Defo will be saddened to have missed, the professor's big board top 5 right now.
Okay. And of course, we don't have a ton going on in the world of sports right now. Another golf tournament that was really boring, frankly. And I enjoy betting on the golf, but yeah, that PGA championship last week was not good. And won by Justin Thomas, who is a guy I do not like, frankly. Mostly because if you remember the match when it was Brady and Tiger versus Peyton and Mickelson? Yep. Justin Thomas was like the guest commentator, and he licked Tom Brady's balls for like the entire thing. Turned me completely against Justin Thomas. Screw that guy. I hope he never wins another tournament in his life. But tragedy struck yesterday, and I don't mean the Texas school shooting, although obviously that's tragic too. We lost a guy who I don't know, like top 3, top 5 of my favorite actors, and Ray Liotta. And a guy who obviously has one moment that we all celebrate, but and you hate saying this in light of his death, not terribly consistent, let's say.
No.
Had a great moment, maybe multiple great moments, but also had some multiple down moments too, Lubie. So we're going to look at everything in celebration of the career of one Ray Liotta, one of our favorites. And this week we've got the big board of Ray Liotta, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, look, I liked him as an actor. I don't know if we call him great actor. I don't know what you call him. He wasn't choosy, if you want to say that. God rest his soul. It was shocking. He was 67 years old. Sad to see him go. Most of us love Goodfellas, and I'm sure he did some other stuff that was good. But he did a lot of stuff that when you looked at it, you're like, okay, Ray. So, yes, I think this is very fitting to pay tribute and in an honest fashion to the one and only Ray Liotta. Number 5.
So, number 5. This is, I learned yesterday, scheduled to be the first posthumous movie starring Ray Liotta to be released. And number 5 highlight in Ray Liotta's career, which we will celebrate long past his death, and that is Cocaine Bear. For those who do not know, this movie's already been made. It's in post-production. This is the true story of a black bear in Tennessee that found a drug smuggling plane that had crashed in the woods of Tennessee and found a duffel bag containing more than 30 kilos of cocaine. That's almost 70 pounds of cocaine. Ate all of the cocaine and then went on a rampage in a Tennessee mountain town. This is a true story, people. This actually happened in 1985. A bear ate 70 pounds of cocaine and then rampaged his way through a mountain tourist town in Tennessee. I don't even know what to tell you. The only comparison I can think, it's like, do you remember the first Rambo movie, First Blood? It's kind of like First Blood. Instead of Rambo, you have a bear, and instead of a raging case of post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, you have 70 pounds of cocaine. So this is clearly going to be one of the greatest movies ever made. They haven't announced who is starring as what. I'm guessing that Ray Liotta is going to be the Brian Dennehy character. He's going to be the sheriff that's trying to kill Rambo Bear. Kerry Russell from Felicity and The Americans is the female star. I'm not sure what she's there, probably as the love interest for the bear. And the greatest part of this casting, which tells me that this movie is going to win all the Academy Awards. Do you remember the guy from Game of Thrones, Tormund Giantsbane, the one who continually talked about on Game of Thrones how he had sex with bears? He's in the movie too. So you've got a bear full of cocaine, Ray Liotta, Felicity, and the guy from Game of Thrones who talked about. If you could get futures on the Oscars, this movie's not being released until 2023. Bet on Cocaine Bear to win all the Oscars, because very clearly.
Is that the title? Is that
yes?
That's really the title.
Cocaine Bear is the title.
Cocaine Bear. Oh, Ray,
Bet everything loaded up on the futures. Bet on Cocaine Bear to win all of the Oscars. All of them.
This is the best one.
I mean, look, you had that movie, The Revenant, a few years ago, where the bear rapes Leo DiCaprio, and it won a bunch of Oscars. This bear is going to kill that bear. So this movie can't help but win like 15. I think the record is 14. I'm saying at least 15 Oscars for Cocaine Bear.
Cocaine Bear.
And Ray Liotta's first posthumous performance to hit the screen.
That's number 5. I'm saying
right now, this is going to be this might be the one thing in Ray Liotta's career that passes Goodfellas. Is Cocaine Bear. Cocaine Bear. I'm already Goodfellas. The minute tickets hit Fandango, I'm buying all of them.
We're just gonna have a party to watch Cocaine Bear. You'll be rooting on the bear.
This movie is basically First Blood, except instead of Rambo, you have a bear loaded up on cocaine. If you had pitched that movie to me, I would give you all my money to invest in that movie. You want to come to me? I got a story. It's Rambo, except with a bear instead of Rambo, and instead of PTSD, he's eating 70 pounds of cocaine. Take all my money to make that movie.
My favorite is literally the title. Like, they're not, usually they make it some arty name, the love and the loss of the, something that had nothing to do with it. So you really don't know. They're like, no, this is it. Like, we're so confident in this fucking thing that we're telling you what it is. Like Cocaine Bear. Yes. You want to see this.
And we go from a high.
That's 5.
To kind of a low, I got to admit, and that's number 4. I love Ray Liotta. I love tequila, but 1800 is crap. And Ray Liotta, in many ways, introduced the trend to America of movie stars making overpriced, crappy tequila and making it cool. And I don't know if you remember those original 1800 commercials, but Ray Liotta never said a word in those commercials. He just gives you a look. And they give you that maniacal serial killer laugh that if you actually heard a guy in a bar laughing that laugh while staring down the bartender, you would run. Because like those commercials were more scary than, including the one where he walks into a boxing arena and for some reason the ring girl comes and serves him some 1800 tequila. Again, I love Ray Liotta, but foisting 1800 tequila on the world was not necessarily a good thing because it's bad tequila, number 1. And number 2, how much tequila has been lost over the years because of that stupid bottle cap pour thing that 1800 does where you're supposed to turn the bottle over and let it pour into the bottle cap, and then you turn it back over and you take the bottle cap out, and your shot is in the bottle. It's so dumb, and so much tequila has been lost over the years because of that stupid bottle cap. And I would really, mourn the loss of it, except it was 1800 tequila, so it was garbage. You probably should have poured on the ground in the first place, because 1800 is crap. And I'm sorry if you like 1800 tequila. You should get better taste. It's not my fault. But yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways, Ray Liotta brought to us overpriced, mediocre tequila. So, when your buddy is ordering Patron at the bar for $16 a shot, it's kind of Ray Liotta's fault. Like all of this, Ray Liotta kind of brought this trend on, and I'm not even disparaging it, because the whole reason people followed it wasn't because Ray Liotta said that it was great tequila, because he never says anything. Like I said, all he does is laugh, that maniacal laugh during the commercials.
That was number 4.
Yeah.
Well, good luck.
You don't have any comments? You're 1800. We'll skip right number 3.
I don't know tequila. I'm not a big tequila.
Not a high moment in Ray Liotta's career, and that was the movie Turbulence with Lauren Holly, where for some reason in the middle of the 1990s, Ray Liotta took a second credit to Lauren Holly, which I don't think Lauren Holly's gotten the lead credit in anything. Have you seen this movie?
No, I haven't heard of this, and I love Lauren Holly. Lauren Holly was great.
Short version of this movie, Ray Liotta is like a serial killer that they're transporting on a jet across the country. For some reason, a 747 passenger jet only has like 8 people of them. One of them is Lauren Holly, who's a stewardess. Another one is Ray Liotta, who's a serial killer who's being moved to Los Angeles for trial. During the flight, the marshals get killed, the pilots get killed, and basically Ray Liotta and Lauren Holly are the only people left on the plane alive. For Ray Liotta, there are a couple of things here. Number one, during the course of the movie, he gets outsmarted by Lauren Holly. And number 2, in the course of the movie, he loses a fist fight to Lauren Holly. I'm not sure which is more shameful of those two. Which is more embarrassing? Which, if my buddies asked me, would I rather admit that I lost a fist fight to Lauren Holly or that I got outsmarted by Lauren Holly? Because if you're familiar with the career of Lauren Holly, let's just say she does not come across like a Mensa member. She doesn't seem like somebody who's going to successfully. If Lauren Holly tricked me, I just got to say, I'd be a little embarrassed about it.
Just by her. I don't know. We don't know her as a human, but yes, the character she played, they always had her play the pretty ditz. That was like her thing.
Yeah, the redheaded bimbo with the big knockers. That's basically her character name in every movie. Yes. Again, in a fist fight, she can kick you in the crotch, get lucky, something like that, get a lucky punch in. But if you get outsmarted by Lauren Holly in a movie, I kind of feel like that's worse than losing a fist fight to Lauren Holly in a movie.
I never heard of this. I loved her. She was great looking when I was growing up.
The name of the movie is Turbulence. Again, yes, Lauren Holly, very attractive, but again,
90s.
Not Stephen Hawking level IQ. If part of the plot to the movie is Lauren Holly is outsmarting me, at some point we'll pull the writers and be like, does that really got to happen? Can't she just get lucky? Does she have to outwit me? Then I'm starting to suspect my character might, not be all there.
The rest of it isn't the unrealistic part. The having a serial killer fly the plane, that's fine. She can't be smarter than me. Come on.
Andy Man's commenting. He thought I was lying. He thought I made Cocaine Bear up. I'm not that creative, Andy. Not that I don't think he did it, but I'm not capable of coming up with the plot of that movie. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Number 2.
Number 3. That was number 3.
Obviously, this is what we know Ray Liotta for. Most of us. Goodfellas, in my opinion, the greatest movie ever made. It's
really?
Yeah, really. The other movies people throw out there, I think Goodfellas is better than. Like, I know people say The Godfather. I think Goodfellas is a better movie than The Godfather. People bring up those old crappy movies, Casablanca and Citizen Kane. I'm sorry, those old black and white movies are boring. They don't hold up. I'm sure they were good 100 years ago. Goodfellas is a better movie. It's Scorsese, it's De Niro, it's Pesci, all these people at their peak of their powers.
Time, yeah.
And again, imagine if that's your third movie, because that was Ray Liotta's third movie in Hollywood.
That's crazy.
And you're not only starring in a movie for the first time, but it's the greatest movie ever made. Like, how are you ever going to live up to that? Like, in many ways, I think Ray Liotta just set a standard that even Ray Liotta. And here's the thing about Goodfellas: you go back and watch that movie, Ray Liotta holds up with all these other Paul Sorvino, De Niro, Pesci. Ray Liotta's not uncomfortable playing with those guys. He's on their level that entire movie. And again, this is what we're all going to remember Ray Liotta for. This is the highlight. I can't say something snarky about Goodfellas. Goodfellas was a masterpiece. And, God bless you, Ray Liotta, for that movie, because you were fantastic in it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I know you like Goodfellas. I didn't realize you liked it to that level. I love Goodfellas. And here, Defo references it quite often. We love Goodfellas. And it's the first thing I thought of when he passed, before I thought about the long line of, what the hell was that, Ray Liotta? So rest in peace, Ray. Thank you for Goodfellas. That was number 2. I don't know.
And number 1. Look, Ray, we love you. I can forgive you getting outsmarted by Lauren Holly. I can even forgive you for the crappy tequila. Field of Dreams, unforgivable.
You're the only one that hates from Field of Dreams.
The most overrated piece of garbage ever made in the history of movies.
The Bill Russell of movies.
Field of Dreams. And on this day, on the passing of Ray Liotta, I want to say I can actually forgive you for Field of Dreams, Ray Liotta, but I can forgive you for 2 reasons. And I didn't know this until I started researching this. But number 1, Ray Liotta has publicly said when he read the script for Field of Dreams, I thought it was amazingly stupid. I couldn't believe anybody would watch this, but I needed the money. So I can forgive you because you're honest about Field of Dreams. You're one of the few people who are honest about Field of Dreams. It's a stupid movie. And number 2, Ray Liotta never saw Field of Dreams. He wasn't big on going and seeing his movies, but he told, I believe it was Rich Eisen during an interview. No, excuse me, it was Colin Cowherd during an interview when they were proposing building that stadium, making a Major League Baseball game at that stadium. Ray Liotta never saw Field of Dreams. I don't blame you, Ray Liotta. I wish I had never seen Field of Dreams. And if you're one of the people who like Field of Dreams, I'm sorry, your taste in movie is garbage. And I know I've heard all the reasons. Oh, it makes me think of my dad. My dad and I had a troubled relationship, just like the characters in it. Welcome to being a son who has a father. Everybody and their dad have a turbulent relationship.
Doesn't make it a good movie.
Fight with your dad at some point in your life. He's probably not your real dad. Fathers and sons fight. That's the way it is. I didn't need a stupid movie about a cornfield in Iowa and a thinly disguised J.D. Salinger character to make me realize that despite our troubles, we had a deep connection with my dad. Thanks. Everybody knows that anyway. That movie's stupid. Kevin Costner in a cornfield for 2.5 hours, or however the hell long that movie lasts. It might be 4.5 hours. It seems like it's about 4.5 days. It's terrible. It is the worst movie ever made. It is, as we said on our big board here, it is the Bill Russell of movies. It may not actually be the worst movie ever made, but it is far and away the most overrated movie, particularly among sports movies. And honestly, I think most of the people who claim they love this movie don't even really like the movie, because I don't think anybody likes the movie. I feel like they say that because they feel like they should like the movie because everybody else likes the movie. And they haven't even seen it because it is totally boring pieces of garbage. And Kevin Costner's not a particularly good actor anyway. So, again, Field of Dreams, straight trash. Ray Liotta, I can forgive you for it, but I hope you were deeply ashamed of being a part of Field of Dreams. Particularly since it was your follow-up movie to Goodfellas. Like, how do you go from Goodfellas to Field of Dreams? That's just the worst possible scenario.
I thought that was a great one too. We've talked about this for years as you mock this movie. I've never called it a great movie. I don't.
Well, you're right. It's not a great movie.
I presume it's not, but I've always loved it. Like me and my dad. And my dad and I didn't have trouble, actually. I don't know if I've ever. My dad's annoying because he's incessant and he sort of made me a lunatic when it comes to sports. Totally him. But we never had trouble, but we love this movie. So I don't know. It's not realistic, of course, and it's totally ridiculous. And so it's not, I would never use the term great. I wouldn't even call it a good movie. I just always loved it. So, but I accept your mockery of it because literally the whole thing is just
Because
fucking
it's
weird,
garbage.
strange, and they made it a baseball movie sci-fi, which is just weird. It's a weird combo. They did a lot of things that I like James Earl Jones and the catch at the end.
Everybody likes James Earl Jones. It doesn't
That's the
make
thing.
Field of Dreams a forgivable movie. And again, in the book that Field of Dreams is based on, the author made it J.D. Salinger that he goes and gets, not the fictional Terrence Mann. And then J.D. Salinger said, yeah, if you make it my name in a movie, I'm going to sue you, which is why they changed it to Terrence Mann. And what I'm going to say here is part of why that's a weakness of Field of Dreams is because Catcher in the Rye is the most overrated piece of literature in American history, and J.D. Salinger was a trash writer. So foisting him into Field of Dreams was just another thing that made Field of Dreams weak. Terrible movie. Unwatchable Drek. And I'm sorry you participated in Ray Liotta. Again, I understand nothing was ever going to live up to Goodfellas, but come on. Field of Dreams. But hey, Cocaine Bear, you finished strong, Ray Liotta. You found the one thing that might actually surpass Goodfellas, and you finished with Cocaine Bear. That's a movie. Fathers and sons in a cornfield in Iowa. That's crap. Bear who eats 70 pounds of cocaine. That's awesome.
And that's your professor's big board of the week. Every week he does it, and every week it's you amaze us, sir. Thank you for.
You have a great one, Lubes.
We love you, Ray Liotta. Rest in peace, sir. And we will
right.
talk with this gentleman next week, maybe multiple times, as I will be doing this solo. So, Ken Man, thanks a lot, and I'm sure I'll talk to you over the weekend.
Have a good one, brother.
Be well, my friend. That was the one and only Ken Jacobson. No one like him. You may not agree with things he says. I actually tend to agree with him, even though he says it in a fashion that I may not say myself. But you can't say that he's unoriginal. He goes for it. I give him that. When he brought up Ray Liotta, I'm like, that's a good idea. But I didn't know how he'd make it funny, right? Because we all, in some fashion, love Ray Liotta. I didn't know how he'd make it entertaining and funny. Every single week he does it. He makes us laugh, no matter what the hell the topic is. It's been a really tough week. I spent most of this week sad, most of this week trying to figure out how do I leave this country, even though I love this country. So thank you to Ken Jacobson, the professor, for once again making this Friday a joyous and a fun Friday. Defo night here. I am here coming up shortly. We will have the one and only move on from the professor to the one and only gambling gourmet Mike Mayo. I'll be on the lunchbox today with him, and he's standing by. So coming up next, the one and only gambling gourmet Mike Mayo. You can check him out today with me. It's me one, him side roll. Later it'll be him one, me side roll on the lunchbox, which you can check out on 147 WWNN. You can check it out on, I don't know if they're still on the Odyssey or app. They've done some things with their web, but definitely 1470 WWNN, and we'll get you that website in a little bit. And coming up next, more of the Devo Show with me, with the gambling gourmet himself, Mike Mayo.
Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. You're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. Good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched. Steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Any time of year, things can happen to your home or business, and The insurance company can be your friend, but they also can be your enemy. Horizon Public Adjusters, Justina Testa, are here for you to help this process go so much easier. 7 to 10 times more money recovered with a public adjuster than if you went on your own. If there's no recovery, there's no fee. Before you call your insurance company, call Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa at 954-809-8752.
All right, so
Here's
you have
my
the poem. Let's do it. Roses are red, violets are blue. I got DQ'd from the late double. Sorry, no champagne or caviar for you. Mike Mayo, the Gambling Gourmet, ladies and gentlemen.
The only way to get your morning started is with Defo, joined by Lubie, right here on the Defo Show.
Alrighty, one and all, welcome back. Not welcome to. We've been doing this for a while now. I'm getting delirious. Welcome back to the one and only Defo Show. I am Mike Lubitz, as Defo's dubbed me 12 years ago, even though I hated that nickname my entire life. Lubie, so I'm now Lubie literally for the rest of my life, so that's always fun. We're now joined by the one and only, a man that has a great nickname, a nickname that he fully embraces, and we here at the Defo Show appreciate that. The Gambling Gourmet, Mike Mayo, joins us. Good morning, Mr. Gourmet. How you doing?
Hey, good morning, Lubie. I hope you can hear me okay. I am great. We got a pair of mics on the mic, but yeah, you're Lubie, and I'm either a Gambling Gourmet or some people call me Hold the Mayo, and they go like this. Tired of that one. No, it's a beautiful morning, and we had a fantastic afternoon yesterday on the lunchbox. Thanks for filling in, and we did. What'd you think of Fat Boy's Barbecue? That was. Was it your first time there?
Yes. Okay. So in the website for later in the day, since I will be joining him on his shindig, just check out wwnntalkradio.com. Also 1470 AM if you aren't here in South Florida. I thought it was great. Like, first of all, Darrell, his story.
Jarrell. It's with a J. Jarrell.
He said it was just like Superman, but I wasn't sure if he said just like Superman, but then with a D. Okay. So Jor-El, literally like Superman. So good for his parents. It was great. And not only his story of like how Fat Boys came up. What's interesting is because my wife, I was telling Shirley about it yesterday. We had gone to Fat Boys, and because he brought us enough to feed our armies, so I was able to. All of us can feed our families on top of what he brought us. So like, I brought Shirley, ate it, and we don't eat barbecue a lot, but she loved it, and she's like, "Yeah, Fat Boys, isn't that the place right by us?" I'm like, no, they used to have 4 locations, now they have 1. She's like, no, they're there. And she looks like, oh, they're closed. I'm like, what's interesting is they didn't close down because of COVID, because they were doing poorly. It was the opposite. They're doing so well during COVID. They couldn't staff the place because we had all those issues with having staff. So he didn't have enough people to staff the place. So right now, for the time being, they have the 1 location in, I guess, sort of the Pompano area. It was great, man. I don't eat barbecue that often, but I loved it. And the way that he's right in the middle of it all, I think is so impressive.
Yeah, I love these mom and pop restaurants, and you could tell they're putting their love and passion into every plate. And the thing is, there's a little bit of brand confusion because there's Fat Boys Barbecue, which is FAT and then BOYZ, and then locally there's also this sushi place, sushi chain that has been growing called Fat Boy Sushi with a PHAT. BOY Sushi. They're not the same company, completely different people, completely different concepts. But Fat Boys Barbecue, which started off in Deerfield, and then he expanded to also had stores in Coral Springs, and then he started this Cajun seafood concept called Crazy Cajun Crabs that also was doing gangbusters. But like you said, during the whole pandemic, they were doing brisk takeout business everywhere. They just couldn't get the staffing. They couldn't keep up the quality control in terms of, and you don't want to ruin your own brand. So, and the thing I like about it is because it's real smoked barbecue, low and slow on, hickory wood grills, indirect heat for a long period of time. And he does where you get the proper bark and the proper smoke ring. And he doesn't put sauce on it. He does dry spice rub marinade. And here I'm going into like full Gambling Gourmet. You know me when I get into my food.
I love it, though.
Love it. And that dry rub, it makes all the difference. And then you can play around. He has got like 3 or 4 different sauces. I had the spicy sauce. I was dunking the brisket and the ribs into the spicy sauce last night when I got home. It was fantastic. But you control your own sauce. I don't like these places lathered in sauce because, like he says, it's usually trying to hide something, meat that's either overcooked or not particularly well prepared. I like and appreciate places like real barbecue smoked meat joints like Fat Boys that does it proper, and the meat speaks for itself, and then you can put on whatever sauces you want after you get it. So thumbs up to him, and that's all part of the Visit Lauderdale segments that we're doing on the Lunchbox, and it's been a lot of fun, and we're going to be doing a lot more things in the upcoming months with them. So that's all good. Well, here we are, me and you, Lubie. And the thing I'm wondering about, Defo is probably just landed in the last couple of hours in Venice, Italy. His first trip to Europe across the pond.
Yes.
You think he is now like absolutely startled and gobsmacked that he's like, wait a minute, where's the Venetian Hotel Resort Casino? When you said Venice of the Venetian, and you think he's breaking out in hives because he can't find a blackjack table or what?
Well, first of all, and I do want to appreciate you for including me in the Lunchbox. I look forward to joining you today. The experiences we're having each week with Nikki Mohan, who's someone I looked up to in the industry, and she's turned out to be an even better person, which is really cool, which I found out with who we work with, knowing you from what you were, Segredo, what you were, and now being a part of you in my life and working with you. It's really cool. You all actually supersede your talents by just being really cool people. And Nikki Mohan fits right in there. So I had a great experience. The food was great. I just wanted to touch one more thing because the professor who was on before is sort of a gourmet like yourself, and he's really weird. He grew up in Tennessee and South Florida, and his family like did hunting and they barbecued and they were very serious. And he smokes, and the way listening to him, I could hear you and Ken talking about food. Like the way he talked about it was he was scientific. He wasn't even trying to like slam other barbecue joints. He was just trying to be honest about what he doesn't think of it as food. He thinks of it as art. And it was really
it's art
cool.
and science. Yeah,
it was really cool. And it was like I've never someone talk about brisket, and he would not call the brisket anything but moist brisket. Like he wanted people to know that he takes that seriously, and you're going to enjoy, even if you don't like brisket, you'll like his brisket, and it was tremendous. Defo, I made it a point. I wasn't trying to hurt him or ruin his time ahead of time, but I wanted him to know what to expect because I know Defo. He goes to freaking Orlando, and the first thing he does is look for the track. When we were in Dallas, this isn't a joke. This is really what happened. We're in Dallas. It's snowy, and it's like getting snow here almost. Like they don't get snow. It was icy. It wasn't a lot of snow, but they don't get snow. He hadn't driven in ice since he was in high school, maybe Syracuse, I guess he drove in snow. So it's been 50 years at that time, because this was a decade ago. So 40 years he hadn't driven in snow, but he had to go to goddamn Lone Star. Not only it's a track no one had heard of, we get there and it's worthy of a track no one's ever heard of. We're literally risking our lives driving, but he had to get to fucking Lone Star. So being a guy who experienced that in my first trip with him, I made it clear, Defo, I'm telling you, I know wherever you go, you find the track. You're not finding the track. Like it's Italy. People go there to just enjoy history, enjoy good food, enjoy good conversation. You could go there for 10 days and not hear anything about sports. And they love soccer and still hear nothing about sports. So I try to do my part. Knowing him, he disregarded it fully, and will find the one goddamn outpost off-track betting place in Rome because he's Defo. I haven't gotten an update yet. I tried to really hammer it home because I was like, he's not gonna get it.
I think he's gonna wander down to one of the bocce courts with the 80-year-old guys and start just throwing down lira on I got the I got the guy on the right. I've been to Italy. I've been to Italy a couple of times, and I don't recall there being. Now they are mad about football, real football, soccer, and they actually have a national daily sports newspaper with nothing but sports, called Gazzetta del Sporto, and I could be making that up, or the Sportivo, but no, they do have a national sports rag every day, and it's just talking about nothing but soccer. But I don't think they have any casinos or or betting parlors there because of the strict Roman Catholic influence.
Very
Or, I
Catholic.
don't even know. I'm making things up. I
No,
don't.
they're very
I
Catholic. No, they're very Catholic.
yeah,
No,
but
they're
Catholics, every time I go to a carnival, there's gambling in some sort there. So, um, but, but there, I guess it's a little bit stricter. And I'm a little surprised because Defo, if he wanted to like wade his way into the European, lifestyle travels, but still not have to totally disengage from the degenerate lifestyle that he's become accustomed to, he could have gone to England and
England.
UK, Scotland. They have all these betting parlors and
Yeah.
all these racetracks where you could actually go to the races. And the beautiful part about the races in the UK is all the bookies on site where you get real-time odds, and those are your odds. You're not dependent on a pari-mutuel pool that all of a sudden somebody's going to drive the 5-to-1 shot that you love, and all of a sudden this late money comes in from the barn and it goes down to 2-to-1. No, if you get 5-to-1 at a bookie in England, that's the price. And then it's a beautiful thing for gamblers who like a particular horse. And then the other thing is, I would have thought that he might have gone up to the Italian Riviera, and then it's just like a 90-minute car ride to go across the border through those really weird tunnels that goes through these mountains. I don't know if you've
I
ever took that drive.
Yeah.
It's like a 3 or 4 mile piece of road that they actually drilled and bore a huge tunnel underneath these mountains that separate the border of Monaco and France with Italy. But you go across into the border and then you're right in Monaco, and the casino in Monaco is one of, it's like right out of James Bond, Casino Royale. I don't know if that's actually where they filmed it, but I spent a night in there, and that they have a dress code. Like, you can't wear just a t-shirt
really?
and you have to wear a jacket and tie
What?
to
A
get into
casino?
the Monte Carlo casino. And
Oh,
some of
yeah.
these have memberships. They have a lot of private casinos in Europe. That's why I'm not sure if Italy has any private casinos. I didn't do that kind of exploration when I was there because I was busy eating and going to museums, and I don't know if Defo is a museum guy, but you got to appreciate the art and all the beauty when you get there.
Well, what's interesting about Defo, and it's something he reminded me because we talk so much about gambling and degeneracy here. He's like, Lubie, I do like history, which he does. He does like history. He likes sports history, but he likes history. And he likes meeting people, and he loves good food, and he loves wine. Well, outside of France, maybe Spain, you're not getting any better wine than in Italy. So he will he will go to Florence and then Tuscany, the Tuscany wine region. So that's great.
Oh,
Rome,
beautiful. Yeah.
Venice. What's interesting is now I don't look for gambling. So when I go to places, it doesn't even dawn on me. But usually you get hit in the face with stuff. My first reaction was the same thing. When he said Italy, I wouldn't talk him out of it because once he can get past this part we're talking about, I thought he'd have a blast. But I was like, there's so many more countries that he can go first. So, like,
gambling friendly. Even France has like casinos and racetracks, and yeah.
Well, and especially England, like he's not Mr. Go to the bar all the time. He actually goes to nice restaurants, but he will go to he likes to go to bars, sit back, beer or his vodka and grapefruit or a Chardonnay and watch sports. England does that. Like, that's a big deal from what I've been told. Pubs, Germany, pubs, Italy. I don't know if we saw a pub, but I mean, they love
Italy, but they have cafes. They have those beautiful piazzas, the town squares. You sit down in the late afternoon. First of all, I tried to give them a few pointers. Like, when you go to Italy, nobody ever orders a cappuccino after 11 o'clock in the morning. They'll just refuse, or they'll look at you like the ugly American that you are if you try to order a cappuccino, let's say at 3 in the afternoon. It's strictly a breakfast beverage. If it's later in the day, it's espresso. But better yet, you sit down in the piazza, town square. And wine is with food and dinner, but in the late afternoon, you're going to get yourself a Negroni, a little Campari on the rocks, and those are distinct liqueurs that have that little, that licorice flavor. But I love a Negroni. It's a little bit like me. It's a little bit bitter, but eventually it mellows out and gets smoother, and you can appreciate it. A Negroni in Italy, like in Venice, is one of the true 7 wonders of the world. So I hope he discovers that. I tried to give him some pointers. I said, don't order the cappuccino in the afternoon. I said, don't ever order spaghetti with meatballs. They will have, some places will have meatballs as a first course and antipasta, but the total American move, it's the dish is spaghetti with meatballs. You don't see that there. and
you're
don't try
not getting
no chicken
Alfredo.
parmesan. And I said, do not ask for grated cheese with any seafood dish, any seafood
Wow.
pasta, because they'll cut your tongue out. It's like what Steve Martirano at Cafe Martirano in Fort Lauderdale, he hits the roof if you request any Parmesan cheese to sprinkle on your, let's say, shrimp with Fra Diavolo or the linguine with clam sauce. I happen to disagree. Sometimes I like a cheese on a linguine with clams. I always leave it up to the customer, but Steve and in Italy, they hit the roof. Forget about it.
Well, that's the thing. My wife gave me. We went back in November. My Shirley was giving me all these things, and because I'm me, and I want what I want, and I don't feel bad. I don't have a lot of, you know.
The customer's always right. That's
well, not even that I'm a jerk about it. It's just like I'm not that classy, right? Like I know when you get steak, you don't put ketchup on it. I get it when you're in a nice place. But I grew up, my parents ate ketchup with steak. So like I've had to learn these things. And the professor has been really great at, you know, making me an adult where I eat fish and I try things and I try not to put a bunch of salt or ketchup on everything that I get. But, you know, when it comes to Italian, I look, and it's not because I'm even unclassy, like mixing up the pasta stuff doesn't get mixed. So I've over life learned to cut it because it allows you to mix the sauce in with the noodles. She was like freaking out when we had pasta before we went over there. She was getting me prepped for Italy, and she was like,
no, you got to twirl it with the spoon.
She's like, if you try that over there, I'm moving to another table. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I didn't even know what she was talking about. She was freaking out. She's like, you cannot cut. I'm like, okay, babe, okay. I won't cut the goddamn pasta.
Or
so like, they're weird about
short pasta. Just get the little penne so that you don't have to cut it up. But the spaghetti, you're supposed to twirl it, you know, with the spoon sometimes, and you have the whole big strands. And it's like, what's the Disney movie where the strands are sticking?
Lady and the Tramp.
Yeah, that Lady and the Tramp. There you go. Hey, I want to give Professor some props because I know I've had some disagreements and differences with him through the years, particularly about some of his taste in movies. We disagree, but he was spot on this morning about a couple of things. Mainly about Field of Dreams. He is completely right. That is the worst garbage of a movie. If you look up the word treacle, if you look it up in the dictionary, Treacle, you will find a picture of Ray Liotta in Field of Dreams right next to it. That whole movie was just sentimental, sappy garbage. Field of Dreams. I get it confused with The Natural sometimes, which is just as bad with the exploding lights and all that. That was Robert Redford. And Field of Dreams. I mean, it's schmaltzy, yeah, it tugs at heartstrings, but garbage movie. And he got the chronology wrong. Actually, Ray Liotta was in, I think, Field of Dreams first, and then came Goodfellas because his first breakout role. Or was it the other way? All right, I don't know about that.
He researches those things pretty well. He's actually pretty
okay. And his first movie role might have been his best, and he didn't give him any love for that. Was Something Wild. You remember the Melanie Griffith movie? And he played this like psychotic ex-con boyfriend, and it was kind of that was a scintillating performance. It put him on the map, and that's what kind of got him Goodfellas. Originally, the producer didn't want to cast him in Goodfellas. I was reading this in his obit yesterday. A guy named Irwin Winkler, one of the biggest producers in Hollywood, and there was every actor in New York and L.A. wanted that part.
It was a big deal. They were all big deals already by then.
Well, you know, you sign up De Niro and Joe Pesci,
and it's already big by then.
Yeah, and it's Scorsese. Yeah, so everybody wanted it. The Winkler didn't want to give it to Liotta, but Liotta actually approached him at a restaurant in California, Santa Monica, one time, and just said, "Can I have 10 minutes of your time?" And he just like pitched himself, and he sold himself on the movie. Wow. And now, Irwin Winkler says, "I couldn't imagine anybody else doing that and being that role." So, yeah, you know. Rest in peace to him, but yeah, let's and I do you think, you know, and he's not the professor's not making up anything about Cocaine Bear. I just Googled it, okay, and here's what the Google description it says about it says Cocaine Bear, a 2023 thriller mystery. After a failed drug smuggling operation, a black bear ingests a large amount of cocaine and goes on a drug-fueled rampage. Now, the scheduled release date is February 24th, 2023. I say they've got to move this up
Move
to a
it up.
Christmas
Yeah, you gotta
release.
take advantage.
You
of
gotta
Sadly,
make the, and Ray Liotta, rest in peace. You got to get him eligible for the Oscars for next year. So you got to release this thing Christmas time. Cocaine Bear, and then somebody's got to rush into production like Sharknado, like maybe crack Sharknado, and do Godzilla meets the smog monster or whatever it is. You got to have Cocaine Bear meets Sharknado or something, because that's can't miss stuff.
I knew he wasn't joking because it was too good to be true. So I was like, maybe it's actually true. I just love that they titled it Cocaine Bear. They're not even hiding what they're going for in that movie, and it's real. So when people are like, "Oh, this is ridiculous," like, no, it actually happened. So no,
Based on the true story.
reality is even crazier than some of the art. This is the
And
Devo
the weirdest part is they're going to make a sequel about how the bear eventually moved to South Beach and opened a club.
Exactly, and he's on Miami Vice. Becomes a cop himself. No Defo. I am Lubie Defo. Will be back in a week or so. This is the one and only Gambling Gourmet Mike Mayo. A litany of places that he and we are involved with, and we appreciate their support wholeheartedly. He is the host of Mike Mayo's Lunchbox at Defo. Co-host, and I fill in, and I join in, and I do different things.
Yeah,
and I'll
we
be there today.
love the Gambling Gourmet sponsors, Tropical Acres and Even Keel, Fish Shack and Shenanigans, the 2 locations, and Pizza Spot fans. It's in Fort Lauderdale. I love their New Haven style pizza. They're going on vacation starting on Monday for 2 weeks. So get in there this weekend, either Saturday, Sunday, or today, and get those beautiful New Haven pies, because again, they're going to be gone from Monday until reopening June 14th. And we love everybody. Anthony's Runway 84. I still see you giving them love on the crawl. They're closed for major renovations now. They're going to reopen hopefully by the end of October, early November. But go check out Anthony Bruno's other place, Andy's Live Fire Grilled. I owe you guys dinner either there or Tropical Acres because of the Panthers. And hey, let's talk some sports in the last 10 minutes. We've had so much fun, food and movies and all this stuff, because we're trying to avoid the ugliness.
I'm not trying to avoid anything. I'm just
No.
trying to support. To me, the series is over. But you asked me yesterday, so I'll turn it around and ask you. You've covered sports a lot longer than I've covered sports. Where are you with this series? I'm Doomsday, and I'm not trying to be Doomsday to be sad. I'm not even trying to be Mike Mayo and be bitter and negative, whatever. But it just feels to me what I'm watching, the Heat just don't have it anymore. You want to say they're off, injuries, blame whatever you want. They just don't have it. The Celtics are finally getting healthy at the right time, just like the Warriors. So good for them. The Heat are getting hurt at the worst time. And that's what I'm seeing with my eyes. You have been closer for longer than I have. What are you seeing? And what am I missing that you're seeing, or am I on it?
No, I see the same thing. Look, you never know with a Heat team in this organization. Somebody might just have a step up, and I don't know what Hero's status is tonight or Jimmy Butler's status. Maybe somebody pulls a rabbit out of the hat tonight and is able to spring a great shooting night, 30 points, 40 points, and maybe they play tenacious D and are able to eke out a game 7. But you're right, I don't see it. I mean, the Heat are banged up, and nobody wants to hear excuses about the injury bug, but it's reality. Like when teams get banged up and it compromises their legs and backs, and like you said, you start seeing all these shots falling short. They're not. Again, when you don't have your full leg strength and your back is messed up, that's when shots start going short and awry. And it was horrendous the other night. Nobody expected that at home to get again blown out. When it looked like a close game at halftime, and then that third quarter was just disaster, and they just got bowled over and manhandled, and every whatever adjective and verb you want to use in the book. But the Heat, they're a franchise that has pride, and that you think they will show something tonight. They will come out with some intensity and force, but they just might not be good enough. They might get worn down in the end, and that's okay. They made it to the conference finals. Again, a lot of people were picking them, but to make it through the NBA finals. But the Celtics are peaking at the right time, and that's it. That's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. Now let's get back the other franchise in town, because the last time I was here was last Friday, and the Panthers still had a little bit of breath, but they showed nothing in that series. They were absolutely pathetic. I'm kicking myself because I should have bet on the Lightning sweeping them at generous odds, and I lost my nerve, and I turned into this hometown cheerleader. I went totally against type, And even after their kind of, let's face it, pretty rocky performance in the opening round, and they showed what they're made of, which is Swiss cheese and absolutely no fortitude. I mean, they have they just showed nothing in that series. And after that season, that's a terrible disappointment. That was like to not even win a game or be competitive. And it wasn't all Bobrovsky, although he let in some greasy goals. And it was just a team effort, total team effort. Their scoring evaporated. Their power play was invisible. Their defense, they didn't pick up bodies in front of the crease when they should have. It was just disgusting and hard to watch. And it basically left me now with my own hometown, original native New Yorker. I'm a big Rangers fan, and that's my last route left. And then they ended up, that was a tough one last night. Once they disallowed that goal on the road. And can we talk about because this is the first year now that hockey is back on some of these major networks, ESPN,
it's been a
TNT. I think TNT is doing a much better job than ESPN because ESPN last night, like the other night in the, I forget what game it was when the puck went over and they brought back a goal. It was like, was there a question of whether it hit that netting or not?
The Panthers, I know that was a big deal. I know that happened in the Panthers.
No, it happened. It was actually, I think, also the Rangers Carolina game. It basically they had all these replays and were going back and forth. And Eddie Olczyk, who's a great analyst, was talking about it last night when they called back that Ranger goal for offside. I didn't even see an angle that showed where the guy's skate and legs were. The only thing they showed was something that showed his upper body. And I don't know if the replay booth in Toronto, if they saw a different angle, because it wasn't clear cut to me. And they didn't really do a good job of explaining it or where his legs are supposed to be, they didn't break it down for the casual fan and even hardcore hockey fans and people who've been around the game and covered it like myself. We don't always understand exactly what the present rule of offside is because there was intent of how the puck got offside. Was it last touch by the opposing team? All these things they kind of glossed over it, and the goal got called back, and that changed the complete flow and momentum of the game. And then the Rangers just went down, and they could still force a game 7 by winning game 6 at home. But that was a little disappointing. And there seems to be a lot of these goals getting called back in these hockey playoffs now, and it's turned into the NHL. It's a little bit the NFL, with all these replays. It's frustrating for fans, but so be it. I just wish the ESPN guys. I like Sean McDonough a lot. But I wish the analysis and the breakdown of some of these rules interpretations were a little bit clearer. So right now, I give the edge in the broadcast battle to TNT.
I've watched whatever the Panthers were on. So, but I rant the whole time, so I don't really listen to what they're saying. But I do want to ask you, because you just said it, and it's something that I haven't done. I've covered myself. I've been to a Panthers game, but I haven't really covered it. Covered the Dolphins. I've covered college football. I've covered the Marlins to some extent. We do the opening days and been down there, and the Heat I've covered a lot in my first days and still to this day. But I never have covered the Panthers. I've never covered. You actually did. So I try not to bring what I think with other sports to hockey, because again, every sport's different, especially when it comes to the coach's effect on the team. But again, we have the coaches and they win awards. So they must do something. Brunette either is going to be coach of the year, but he's definitely a finalist. Did a good job. The early season with Quenneville, the fact that they recovered from that and having their best record ever, most points ever, best offense in the regular season in the NHL in over or almost 30 years. Wonderful. Did a good job. But the fact that once the playoffs started, all the shit you said that we laughed at you about was 100% true.
Right.
And why we actually took that opinion in the second round and we're somehow confused. You didn't.
Yeah, playoffs.
To me, how does that not go to the coach at all, let alone at least a little? And to me, the fact that they never took the interim tag away, a lot of teams, the season they had would have, in the middle of the season, made him the coach because he had done a good enough job. The fact that they didn't, and then he failed miserably in the playoffs, to me, makes it even louder as to why you wouldn't bring him back. What do you do with a guy like Andrew Brunette, and what do you do with that position? Because we're not hearing at all down here that he's gone, and I don't know why. Like, how would you bring him back after what we just saw?
Yeah, the thing that was disturbing to me, and look, hockey, like you mentioned, a lot of it is breaks of the game. Pucks take funny bounces, and you're at the mercy of goaltenders and if they're hot or not. And obviously, the Panthers ran into the best goalie in hockey, and Vasilevsky with the Lightning. But still, you got to find a way to score goals. And the disturbing thing was, Burnett didn't mix things up at all. I mean, like, yeah, I guess they did one little shift on the power play after they went 0 for 25 and they started cycling things out from behind the net and around the edges as opposed to working just in from the blue line and passing it around in a triangle. But in terms of, like, even last night with the Rangers in the third period when they were down, you saw their coach. You just started scrambling lines. You mix things up. You try for different chemistry. You just try for something new to shake things up. And Burnett didn't do really anything to shake things up, right? He didn't change goaltenders at any point, and that's
He didn't
usually
do anything.
step number one to just kind of send a signal to your team, like, all right, maybe it's not fair. I'm taking it out. I'm yanking him. I'm putting this guy in. See what you do for this guy. Can you score goals for this guy? Do something and just start. And I didn't pay total close attention. I don't know if he did scramble any lines at the end.
What I read and what he said,
so.
he didn't. He didn't.
Yeah. And again, at one point when you're showing nothing, the definition of insanity is when you keep doing the same thing, expect a different result. They showed nothing. It's not like these were close games. It's not like they went to overtime 2 times and they just got robbed on a bad hop or something. This was just, they got decimated the whole time. And because he didn't try to make any adjustments and he just kind of hung his head and was like, we're nervous. Like, that's not what you want to see. And that's why I think he is on shaky ground. But we'll see. Maybe they'll give him one more shot. But like you said, when there's better alternatives out there, and you're of the mindset that Trotz is a better alternative,
because he's done this, right? Like, he's taken organizations that were close. Literally, he did it with the Capitals, who were in the same spot for years. We're close, which is the Panthers now for 2 to 3 straight years. They've had talent. Talent is not their problem. They brought in the legendary coach. I think Quenneville with this team would have done it, but he was caught up in something from a long time ago. So he was rightfully, resigned or left, whatever, quit, fired. But, like, we've seen in this sport that is all luck, supposedly. Coaches come in and change. Gallant has done this. We've seen a few guys come in, shake things up, and take a good team and make them great. Isn't that what this team is? Like, I don't really want Brunette learning on the job. Like, that's my thing is, feels like if you keep him, that's what's happening. And that's stupid. This team is definitely talented enough to challenge, if not win, a Stanley Cup. He was a lot. And Dave Hyde, your contemporary for years, we love him. Came on last week and like that Brunette was honest. I don't have a problem being honest if I'm learning something from you. If when you're being honest, you're telling me the same thing every game and nothing's changing, then are you being honest or you're just placating? Like,
you're being honest, but you're being honest about your own limitations, that maybe you're not the right guy for the job. So
they're just not trying hard. Well, if they're not trying hard for 7 straight games, Andrew, like, hello, like,
yeah.
Maybe.
Well, look, enough of those losers. Maybe next year they'll learn to kind of save some goals for the playoffs. And again, everything I was saying in March and April that you were laughing at me, that they're winning too much and scoring too much. You got to save something in reserve, and the intensity ratchets up in the playoffs. The defense ratchets up in the playoffs. I'm sorry, in hockey, and here they are. They're off on a plane to Italy. I guess they'll be having Negronis with the Defo in the town square. Hey, I got to pat myself on the back for one thing. The Preakness I gave out completely right last week, both here and on the lunchbox. So I was able to offset my, the Defo Llama always says it's the bets that you don't make, the chances you don't take that will truly haunt you for life. And but I did make bets on, I said early voting and Epicenter, straight up cold exactas, and I love early voting. And you ended up getting almost 5-1, 4-1 on him. Nice. So I cashed some handy tickets there. And I know the intro for me today was I got DQ'd from the late double, no champagne on roses for you. Well, actually I hit the double of the Black Eyed Susan and the Preakness.
Oh, nice.
And it turned out that was $50 for every $1. So I had it for 10 times, a $10 double. So I got $500 back on that on a $10 bet.
Sick.
I invested a total of $200 into the races last week and got back $800. So that was a good week's work, and it made up for my whiff on not betting the Panthers to choke like the chokers that they are.
Well, if you want to see more great week's work and you want to hear more of what the one and only Gambling Gourmet has for you. Today, 12 o'clock, I will be sitting in for Defo. The Lunchbox, Mike Mayo's Lunchbox, 1470 AM down here. I know they have FM with, what is it, 95, 96.9?
No, so it's two signals on the FM. It's 96.9 in the central northern parts of Broward and 95.3 if you're in Boca or Delray. And you can stream and listen live or download to past episodes anytime. That's at www.nntalkradio.com.
All righty. Thank you for joining me today, Mr. Mayo. And I will look forward to talking to you in the next 3 hours.
Always a pleasure, Lubie. See you at noon.
That is the one and only Mike Mayo. I am Mike Lubitz. This has been the Defo Show with Lubie, without Defo. Call it whatever you want. Appreciate you all sticking with us. Check out Believe.com, BLEAV.com, the Believe Network. Search After Hours. We had a really cool conversation with longtime college football and NFL coach Tim Brewster. And check out our South Florida content every day. 5 Reasons Sports Network, and every morning just Google the Defo Show, DEFO. Have a happy Memorial Day. Be safe, everyone. Hug your family, hug your kids. Please go and vote, please, because 85 to 90% of our country thinks the same way, but because 50 politicians who are bought and paid for by different organizations that are actually not that big but very powerful, our country goes their way. Our country doesn't have to have issues that it does. These are not just things that can't be fixed. They can. It happens by putting the people in to do the things you want and not what they want. So please go out and vote now and later. Have a great time and check me out next week right here, the Devo Show without Defo. I am Lubie. And thanks again to the professor. Thanks again to the gourmet. And we'll have a great weekend, everybody. And we'll see you next week.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my show.